Folks, was the seller crazy in accepting this offer? I'll explain what I mean and then get into the latest home prices and insights for the City of Toronto for week ending October the 1st, 2025. If you want to speak directly with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Not long ago, we're working with the seller. We put their property on the market. Before that, we did a home inspection, a pre-listing home inspection, and we supplied to all buyers. And not too long after we were on the market, we received two offers the same day. One, we're going to label simply as offer A and offer B. Now, offer A, well, neither offer had a home inspection condition. They're both relying on the home inspection that we supplied. But offer A did have a financing condition. Offer B had no conditions, no financing, no home inspection. Price-wise, closing, the rest of the offers, they were pretty similar. And so part of my job as a realtor representing a seller is to naturally to maximize the sale, but also to gather as much information to present to my clients, the sellers, as much information as I can about those buyers. Now, in maximizing the sale, we go back and forth a few times with offer A and offer B. Now, both had revised their offers, both have increased their prices, but offer A also removed their financing condition. So now I have two offers, no conditions. And I'm speaking to offer A and to that agent, and I'm saying, you had a financing condition, you no longer have a financing condition. Tell me about your buyer's financial situation. And that agent tells me, don't worry about it, they're fine. I said, I understand, and it's great, I shouldn't worry about it, but tell me, do they have a home to sell? Are they paying cash? What's going on? And she says, Santo, don't worry about it, they're fine. We put it there before, but we really don't need it. They're fine, don't worry about the financing. She's not really telling me anything. And in my head, I'm thinking, what does that mean, they're fine? But that's all she's saying, that's all I got. I'm speaking now to the agent of offer B, and I asked the same question. Tell me about your client's financing situation because you don't have a financing condition. And that agent tells me that he had already previously listed those buyers' property, sold it, and it's closed. He sent me the address and I could see it online. I could go to land registry. I could see that it was their house. I can follow what he's telling me. And he says that they've closed. They got the money in the bank, the proceeds from their sale. They're looking to buy now. They will be getting a mortgage, but there's a huge down payment. They'll be fine with the mortgage. Okay. So now I'm explaining everything to the sellers that I've learned from these two offers. It's important to understand, though, price point, offer A was higher than offer B. It wasn't an insignificant amount, but offer A was higher than offer B. My seller clients, once I explain this, and when I start talking about offer A, and I talk about the financing situation, and I say, the agent tells me that her buyers are fine for financing. Well, my clients, the sellers, say the same thing to me. What does that mean they're fine? I said, that's what the agent told me over and over again. No matter how much I tried to dive deeper into it, she just wasn't entertaining any kind of explanation other than they were fine. But offer B, here's their story, here's their situation for those buyers. And I showed them the property that they've sold, and we can see online that it's closed, and we can follow that. My clients, the sellers, really struggled with the decision, but in the end, they went with offer B. They chose the lesser offer because they felt more confident in it actually closing. And when I explain this to offer A, I say, listen, they've decided to go with offer B. And you'll see that when we post it tomorrow on MLS, it will be for less money. she was a bit upset. And she says, well, why would they take less money? Our offer has no conditions, more money, like why? And I said, well, they just felt more comfortable about those buyers versus your side. Your financing was vague. She was upset, but that's how it goes. This same situation, very similar, recently happened to us again. This time we were representing the buyer. We had a buyer who we've sold their property and it's closed. So my clients have the proceeds from the sale and now we're looking to buy. And we put an offer on a property where we were competing with other offers. I can't say 100% for sure, but the agent on the listing side, on the seller side, did tell me that we weren't the highest offer. But because of me explaining the situation of we've already closed, we don't have anything to sell, my clients already have the money from the proceeds in their account, our clients are very strong financially, the sellers chose our offer. It just felt more secure to them. So there is something to say with understanding the psychology of how sellers and buyers think. We represent both sides in different situations. And it's interesting why sellers sometimes will choose one offer over the other. It's not always about more money. It's about feeling more secure if it will actually close. In this market, with all this uncertainty, we're seeing sellers choose confidence and put a high value on confidence that their property will actually close, sometimes over everything else. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. And if you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. Today, this show, all about the City of Toronto freehold properties. I am going to start off with a slide dealing with power of sale. Now, the power of sale chart is for all the GTA, Durham, Halton, Peel, Toronto, and York regions. So all the GTA for all home types. It's not specific to detached or towns or all home types. So these are power of sale listings. The orange, that's this year for the month. So the last full month is September. There's 220 power of sales that were listed during the month of September, way up for the same month last year. The blue, that's the same month a year ago. And if we look at just this year, comparing January to September this year versus January to September last year, power of sales are up by 552 more, which is 71% more power of sales this year than the same period a year ago. So power of sales are way up. Is it enough to affect the market? It's tough to say. I mean, I know in some neighborhoods there's more than others, but just for the month of September, it's 220 power of sales that were listed just for the month of September. Let's look at City of Toronto only detached properties right now, and we're going to go back several years. So I've got highlighted in black September, from September 2021 to present day, full month of September. So for September 2025, 675 detached properties were sold. When we look at that number and we go back several years, 625 is much less than what was sold September 2021. But if we look at September 2022, each year sales for September were a little bit higher, and now, as I've said, we're at 675 sold detached properties for the month of September. So if you've heard in the headlines, hey, we had a busier, more active September than before, Well, it's more active since 2022, but 2021 sales were much higher. Let's look at average sold price. So for month ending September 2025, the average sold price is 686,000, which is up quite a bit from the previous few months. Well, 1,686,000, pretty much where we were this time last September last year, but lower from the previous September. And we can go back and kind of see that if we look at basically kind of mid 2023, average price overall has been trending down. If we go back to the peak and we look at what happened right after the peak, where interest rates started climbing quickly, man, prices took a nosedive, then rebounded kind of up until spring or so 2023, and then since then average prices across the city of Toronto for detached properties has been in a steady decline. Not every single month, but overall average price has been declining. If we look back a bit further versus 2020, the current average sold price is actually 13% higher than where the average price was in September 2020. If we look at September 2019, the current average sold price is 25% higher. So this is all very, very important information if you're contemplating, should I sell, shouldn't I sell? Man, if you bought 2019 or later, your price today, even though we're talking about how much lower the current price is, like it's 6% lower than prices were in 2022, you're still, the values are way higher than 2020 and 2019. Let's get into our regular programming here. We're going to be looking at detached semis and towns for the city of Toronto. I do have average sold price for condos on the board. We're not really talking about condos in this show. It's here just for reference, mainly to show you that average condo price is $945,000 lower than the average detached price. But condos, we break it down and get into a ton of detail tomorrow's show. Tomorrow's show on Wednesday is all about condos. So let's get started. For the city of Toronto, this is data broken down by week. For week ending October the 1st, 159 detached properties were sold for that week only. 35 of those sold at $2 million or more. 35 represents 22% of all the sales. So 22%, all detached properties sold in the city of Toronto sold at $2 million or more. Average sold price, it is down a bit from the previous week, but the last 3 weeks, you're looking at the second part, or most of September actually, average sold price has been higher than 1.6 million. Whereas if we look prior during the course of the year, we kind of, for this year, peaked around the end of May. And since then, average sold price has been trending downwards. But this fall, come September, prices jumped up and they're kind of hovering around there right now. Same thing with sales. Sales jumped up in September and now they're hovering 159, 164. That's where sales have basically been for the month of September. Compared to last year, 1,638,000 is 1% higher. The median price of 1,350,000 is 2% higher than the same time a year ago. The dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. And we could see, although we only have 3 months on the board here, but average and median price were trending down. But since September, we're seeing an uptick. A lot of that does have to do with the fact that there are more properties selling in the higher price points. So 159 were sold. Selling between 2 million and 2.9 million, 19 of those. Selling between 3 and 3.9 were 7 properties. and properties selling at $4 million or more, 9. There were more properties selling at $4 million or more than between $3 million and $3.9 million. I'm saying that because so many times I meet people or people will comment on the channel, who $1 million, like who's doing this? There's lots of transactions in the $2, $3, $4, $5, $6 million range. Listings. Listings are trending down, although there were still 508 detached properties listed for week ending October the 1st. Active listings has been climbing for a little while. It's now, this week that we're in now, has dropped a bit. But when we look at all the active listings, all the properties, the detached properties only, but all the properties available for sale, 38% of those listings are listed at $2 million or more. That's a high percentage of properties listed at $2 million or more. Months of inventory, sitting at 4 months of inventory. So if we look at all the detached properties, months of inventory, and this is for the whole city of Toronto, sitting at 4. But that's the whole city. That's the average of all the transactions. If we break the city down into 9 different sections, there are 2 that really stand out as being either more active or more aggressive. One of those areas is East York Riverdale Beaches, 20 detached properties sold. Average sold price is just under 1.4. But the months of inventory there is sitting at 2.3 months of inventory. That's at the kind of the top end of a seller's market. So it's pretty aggressive there. 65% of those properties sold at list price or more. The other area is the High Park, Parkdale area. There's 14 properties sold. Average sold price is $1,858,000. 57% of those sold at list price or more. Months of inventory there, very aggressive at 1.9 months of inventory. Pretty much a seller's market there. So yeah, we talk about, we're basically in a buyer's market, but it's very property, price point, neighborhood specific. Because some neighborhoods like these 2, very aggressive. You're going to feel more like it's a seller's market. Let's look at detached properties from a bedroom point of view. Here's the average price in sales for 3 bedrooms, and we're going to compare it to 4 bedroom properties. For October, week ending October 1st, 72 3-bedroom detached properties sold. Average sold price has been climbing. We're now at $1,339,000. 1,339 is down from the previous couple of weeks, but overall since, say, the end of June, average price for 3 bedrooms seems to be climbing. Compared to last year, 1,339 is 7% lower. Here's 4-bedroom properties, 41 4-bedroom detached properties sold. Average sold price is $2,026,000. It's difficult to say which way prices are going for the 4-bedroom. Overall, I would say maybe it's kind of flat, but you've got these big peaks and valleys. Well, as you start to get into 4-bedroom, bigger homes, you also are dealing with many times the luxury market that are 4-bedroom type properties, and prices could get a little bit out of hand there. Compared to last year, $2,026,000 is 1% lower. And when we compare the 2, well, the 3-bedroom down here is 3.5 months of inventory. The 4-bedroom properties have a 5.9 months of inventory, big difference. And the difference in price, close to $700,000. It's $687,000 is the difference in average sold price. But you can see here, the blue being 4 bedrooms and the orange being the 3-bedroom properties. It's also a big difference in sale. There are many more 3-bedroom properties being sold than the 4-bedroom. Absolutely, for sure, budget, price point has a lot to do with that. Here's semi-detached properties for week ending October the 1st. big week, 61 semi-detached properties sold. Sales seems to be climbing. 12 of those properties, which is also a big week, 12 of those properties sold at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price for semi-detached properties since the middle or beginning of August, average sold price seems to be climbing. We're now sitting at $1,180,000. So if you look at just this part here since the beginning of August, you're thinking, well, prices are way up when it comes to semis. And that statement would be true if you're only focused on August to now. You go back a little further, we were for a while hovering around 1.3 million. We're now at 1,180 or, sitting around 1.2 million. There's a big difference between where we were just this year to where we are now when it comes to semi-detached average sold prices. Compared to last year, 1,180,000 is 12% lower. The median price of $1,060,000 is 11% lower. Prices were dropping for a good part of the year, and now they're turning around a bit. Months of inventory for semi-detached is sitting at 2 months of inventory. More than half of the semi-detached sold at list price or more. It's very competitive. If you wake up today and say, I want to buy a semi-detached, understand it's a competitive market. Townhouses, these are freehold townhouses. 14 of them sold. 5 of those, which is a record week, 5 in a week, sold at $1.5 million or more. We have had weeks where more than 5 have sold at $1.5 million or more, but I can count them here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 6th week this year where we've done 5 or more properties have sold at 1.5 million or more. So average sold price, as a result, has shot way up. Overall, average sold price, however, has been declining, but it's currently sitting at 1,341,000. 1,341 is 8% higher than the same week a year ago. The median price of 1,313 is 11% higher. And months of inventory for freehold townhomes is sitting at 4.6 months of inventory. Here's a summary of months of inventory. Here's the 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, but overall, for detached properties sitting at 4, semis is down here, more of a seller's market, and townhomes kind of a balance. Overall, if you're looking to summarize the market, you could say, if you're talking to people, what's the market like? Overall for freehold, overall bit of a balanced market, but semis are a bit more aggressive. And depending on which neighborhood you're in, you could find yourself in a position where you're competing. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.